All right, I think after this chapter, you and me, we can both agree that Who's Who is a bum. And I don't use that word lightly because bum, that's a bad statement. I'm sitting here looking at the cover story, and this man is getting bullied by Yamato. They very well could have put a cover page of Yamato actually talking to Who's Who. But no, Yamato came in there. Oh, he's gone. In end of the story. I'm glad we picking up OT in page 1, but Who's Who? You suck. All right, chapter starts with the school being attacked by Jormungandr, and I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw that Jormungandr was the one attacking the school, I was hyped. Because based off a name alone, that means so much. But the moment I saw his face, I was like, yeah, he's getting one tap. Easy. Because whenever, and this is no disrespect to Oda, whenever I see one of them big monsters with a big, goofy face like that, in One Piece, they're getting one tapped every time, 100%. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's funny to see it because I'm like, yeah, immediately they're getting one tapped. And what happens later? What I say? But they're screaming and running away from the giant snake, and we finally get to meet the rest of the teachers of the school, including the principal. I'm gonna tell y'all now, I'm not good with pronouncing people's names. Names are not my thing, but I'm gonna do my best. And we meet Kiba. And for what I see from Kiba this chapter, he's pretty cool for an old man. I also noticed that he has a walrus face, which, is the name of the school, so I get it. But at the same time, I don't know if this is a devil fruit. I'm really hoping that he is not mixed with a mink. Because imagining a giant and a mink having a child, it could be a beautiful thing, but like, how is that possible? Well, I don't want to say minks aren't people. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, it's like, come on now. It would be cool for him to have a devil fruit, in my opinion. And Jormungandr goes to attack, and Kiba knocks him with a hammer. Same page, we proceed to see the best part of this whole entire chapter, and I am not joking. Saul one taps, hockey punch Jormungandr. This is a big moment for me because I'm a Saul defender. Not in the case of like story, because regardless, we know the role that Saul plays in the story. I'm talking power scaling wise. I never understood why people always denounce Saul as a fighter. The moment Elbaf started, like, oh, Saul's just a librarian. I don't know what they're going to do if Saul attacks. I don't know what's going to happen. But y'all have to remember, Saul is a vice admiral. And I know after Egghead, that doesn't mean much of anything at all. I get that. But y'all have to understand, at the end of the day, in the Marines, not that many people are vice admirals. The only person he lost to in that flashback was a future admiral, Kuzan. No one else in Saul's place is doing anything greater than what Saul did. And up until this point, we really haven't really had a showing of Saul doing anything. But now that we get to see that he can actually like do stuff, people are surprised. Oh, he has hockey? I can't believe he has hockey. Yeah, he would have been a boss battle for Luffy and the crew pre-time skip. And y'all don't want to believe me on that. We see Robin and Chopper hiding in Saul's beard. They're just as confused as everyone else about what's going on. They come across the PE teacher. Now, I don't understand why the PE teacher of the School of Giants is the first one down. Maybe he had to fight a God Knight or something. Maybe Jormungandr or someone bullied him. But I do think it's kind of funny that the PE teacher of all people is the one that's on the ground right now. PE teacher, Mr. Wolf, I'm sorry for not saying his name. Mr. Wolf. No, I'm not saying sorry. And the PE teacher, his name is Mr. Wolf. He says something that's really interesting to me. He says, the children, don't touch them. And I don't know if he's referring to the enemy, like, oh, whoever the enemy is, don't touch the children anymore. Or is he referring to Saul and them and saying, don't touch the kids who are like walking away sleeping because something may happen to you. And maybe that is what caused him to be on the ground bleeding. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if it's explained in the chapter. Maybe I didn't read hard enough. But Robin and them, they come to the conclusion that the kids are sleepwalking while they're being guided by Gunko's arrow. With seeing Gunko's arrow, that brings up a bunch of questions for me because I want to know what powers are being used and if there's a collaboration between powers. Because we see devil fruits and having crazy powers and all that, but we've never seen that many collaborations of crazy powers. Like, what if the God Knights are powerful because they know how to use their powers together? Like, almost as if like they're a crew and they work together. As of right now, we don't know which God Knight is doing what stuff. Like, of course, we see Gunko's arrow, but like, why are the children asleep? How can they walk while they're asleep? Later on, we see that some of them are passing out. Why are they passing out? You know, Kiba decides to sound the horn to let everyone else know on Elbaf what's going on. And Saul is like, isn't that overkill? And at this point, I'm like, Saul, your kids are being taken. You know, like, if anything, this would be the time to sound the horn. I don't know what other time you would sound the horn. So that's a good call by Kiba. And then you see like 2 more monsters in the background, and like, yeah, now it actually is time to like call people and get some help, because it looked like Jormungandr was putting in the work on the PE teacher. I think y'all need backup. With everything going on, Chopper decides he's gonna step up and examine the kids to see what's going on. And I'm all for this. Anytime Chopper actually gets to do something, I'm there for it, because I'm a pre-time skip Chopper fan, and he has not been able to do much post-time skip. Yes, he's had moments, but when it comes to character, I can say out of all the Straw Hats, he has had the least amount of character moments post-time skip, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he is sort of looking like a mascot. I have a Chopper plushie too, so I'm a part of the problem. Then we get back to the underworld, and we see Loki still standing above everyone. And they really weren't kidding about Loki being as tall as Ors, because Hyruden is barely as big as one of Loki's legs. And he's a giant. Like, just imagine that. Like, and with One Piece, when it comes to One Piece, I like to imagine things in our real world. That's insane. That's like 50 skyscrapers, but I'm getting on a tangent. Loki says something that I want to talk about. He says, if you care about keeping Elbaf safe, remove this last shackle. This just adds on to everything else Loki has been talking about. At this point in the story, I do not believe that Loki is the antagonist. He may be antagonistic, but he is not the villain. He is not the bad guy. He is not the person that I think Luffy is going to be fighting at the end of Elbaf. No questioning that. Based off of the whole Ors thing, I think that since Loki seems to still be one of the pure-blooded giants who still has that same blood that Ors has, the same blood that King Harold fought to get rid of, I think he was demonized on purpose, and he pretty much was like, oh, y'all gonna treat me like that, so I'm gonna fill the role. And he ended up filling the role that people demeaned him for. And that, of course, that's just a theory, but everyone's saying Loki does these bad things, but Loki doesn't seem to do bad things for the bad reasons. He seems to want to do these quote-unquote bad things for the betterment of everybody else. So, like I said, Loki is a very interesting character. I'm liking what Oda's doing with him right now. Something else I found really cool, I can say cool, but funny about this chapter is that Sanji is here. I'm just not used to Sanji being here for these big moments. I'm not gonna lie. Back in Wano, he never even got to see Kaido in the first place. So him being like, what's his deal when he sees Loki? It's like, yeah, you probably have no idea what's going on. He was not in the loop. Not saying that's a bad thing or anything, but like, yeah, Sanji's out the loop. And hopefully he gets to be in the loop this arc. I want to see a good Sanji fight. But Loki proceeds to pick up his hammer and hits that tree the same way Yamato slammed Who's Who. And I'm not gonna lie, it looked like it did some damage. If I'm reading this correctly, this may be the start of Ragnarok for Elbaf, which I'm all for, because it seems like there's something going on in Elbaf. I think people forget that at the beginning of this arc, we got a message saying that there is something off about Elbaf, and we still have not figured that out yet. So, like I said, Loki does not seem to be the bad guy. There seems to be something up with Elbaf. And like I said, there's a lot going on, which I'm here for. Elbaf sort of reminds me of Egghead in the way of like, there's so many different things going on. We got the God Knights stealing the children. We got Loki with his own agenda of destroying Elbaf while having an agenda against the God Knights for killing his friends in the underworld. And then we have the Straw Hats that are just here, pretty much along for the ride. They don't really have any like set goals. Of course, Luffy has a set goal, but like, there's just so many factors in here to where like, it seems like these final saga arcs, this is just how they're going to be running. And I'm here for it. Honestly. Loving it. We cut back to the school, and Ange is telling Saul and the rest of the teachers why she believes everything is happening the way things are happening. And catch me if I'm wrong, but she tells them that she had the kids writing down their biggest fears. And unless I see the lesson plan, I think that's some shady stuff, because it's too convenient for you to be like, okay, today we're going to write down our biggest fears. And maybe it didn't happen that day, but it looks like it happened earlier that day. And all of a sudden, all their fears come to life just because there just so happens to be God Knights on the island. That's too convenient. And like, maybe I'm wrong about it. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it. I could be. I don't think I am. I think I'm right. But we see and hear about some of the kids' fears, and we see one of them say Nika. And I feel like them saying that on this page and what happens at the end of the chapter is connected. And I feel like it establishes something that I will talk about later on. Don't worry, I'll get to it. Something else is that the kids are going down to list their fears, and someone says, my mommy. And now I'm fully prepared to see someone's big mom come out. And I don't know how the power works, but I'm interested to see whoever's mommy's gonna pop out them woods and, start whipping children and whatnot. On the final page, we don't see the mommy, but we do see a whole lot of creatures. We see Nika, we see Loki, looks like Fenrir, a dragon. We see a whole bunch of the kids' fears, and they honestly look really cool, especially that Nika. I'm really interested to see who's gonna fight that and how it's gonna fight. Because if it actually has, quote unquote, what they think Nika's powers are, then whoever's power this is, they're busted. That's it. If you can recreate Nika in any sort of way, whether there's a time limit, whether it's weaker, I think that's a flex. While all the teachers are looking at the landscape in disbelief, we go back to the God Knights, who seem to be chilling, watching everything going on. And Summers tells Killingham, good job. And I'm guessing that means that Killingham at least plays the biggest role of putting the kids to sleep. So like maybe Gunko makes them walk, or maybe that's part of Killingham's power. I don't know. I'm interested, like I said before. Killingham asks Summers if he thinks they'll be able to get the kids back. And Summers replies with something that I would like to highlight. He says, to love is to inevitably hurt one another. I don't know if this is the right translation. I don't know if necessarily what he means by it. All I do know is that he is spitting facts. And I'm not going to lie, I'm actually starting to like the God Knights. Not in a way of like, oh, I like the Celestials or what they do, but as antagonists, they have the potential to be my favorite antagonists as a group. When it comes to all the groups in One Piece, like pirate groups included, these guys are looking to be up there. Now, the last part of this chapter that really has me somewhat hype about the God Knights as a villain group is Summer goes and asks Gunko what her biggest fear is, and she replies with Nika. And of course, we know this already. We know the celestial dragons are afraid of Nika. They're afraid of the D. They're afraid of all these things. But it's the fact that, like I said before, the giants' children, even some of the giants included, they're also afraid of Nika. And it's understandable because from what we know, Nika was the one that destroyed the world in the first place. And if I knew that, Nika would be my biggest fear too. But it's interesting to see that maybe, not saying that they're justified in any of their actions. No, not in the slightest. The celestial dragons are still horrible individuals. But the God Knights themselves, I'm very interested in their individual and group motivations and see if they clash in any sort of way. Because y'all have to understand, some of these people were born into this and came up to be God Knights. So they may collectively have the same fear, but they may have different ways of going about dealing with that fear, or like their motives around it. The same way with the Marines, where you have a overall goal of pirates are bad. Let's get rid of pirates. Let's keep people safe. But everyone has their own ideology on how they go about doing that. And I'm interested in the God Knights ideology on how they go about dealing with this fear of Nika, especially when they're presented with Luffy, who will be in front of them at some point. So One Piece is getting so good now, I had to make a YouTube channel about it. Let me know how my first video did. I take all criticism to the heart, so I will be arguing with you in the comments.